like I said before, I feel like you two were trying to self-edit and trying to self-correct and make it so that you come across a certain way. Hi guys, welcome back for Married at First Sight, season 20, episode 14. So we pick up right where we left off in the middle of the group session where Dr. Paul has asked Nick and Courtney if they would like to end their marriage tonight. And Courtney says, well, I don't really know. And I'm like, why don't you know? You know that you don't like him. You know you don't want to be married to him. You know you can't stand his presence, his sheer existence. So why don't you know? What is it that you don't know? What is your hesitation around ending this marriage early? So Michelle chimes in and she's like, in the past I've wasted time on relationships that were just not the right ones. And I would suggest that you don't do that. That there's no point in doing that. So Courtney does decide that she's going to go ahead and call it quits. And Nick says, yeah, let's just go ahead and rip off the band-aid. And he looks so disappointed. But he didn't look disappointed and sad because the marriage was over. And I was like, are you sad because you aren't winning, or that you're not going to be on TV any longer? Because your reaction to this is not one of, man, I really wanted to make this work. I'm so sad that it's falling apart in this way right now. I don't know. But they do go ahead and say their goodbyes to the rest of the cast since this is the end of their relationship. They will no longer be on the show. And as they're saying goodbye, Courtney, when she gets to Adam, is like, we'll have to have a pickleball rematch. Are you trying to shoot your shot? We already know that you like Adam. And I guess you assume, Adam and Marissa are just not going to be married after this. So maybe you can slide on into that spot since you love pickleball and Adam loves pickleball. And honestly, maybe you guys would be a better match. I'm not really 100% sure, but thinking about both of you, you're both very intense people in different ways. But Adam loves pickleball, you love pickleball. Adam loves fitness, you love fitness. You seem to like pushing yourself because you used to be a bodybuilder. Adam loves pushing himself. Maybe the two of you should have been paired together instead of you with Nick. And maybe Marissa should have been with Nick. I don't really know. I feel like we don't really know much about Marissa as who she is as a person. We don't really know too much about who Nick is as a person, so it's hard to say if those two should be together. But I assume it would be a better match than you and Nick, right? I don't know. If it were up to you, who would you put with Courtney out of this cast that you think she would have the best shot with? Or am I tripping? Am I delusional? So when they get outside, Nick is telling Courtney that he's thankful for her, and he's basically saying his goodbyes. And in the midst of this, he starts tearing up a little bit, a normal human reaction. And Courtney jumps down his throat, as she always does, because she doesn't know how to not jump to 100 whenever she feels a certain way. And she just doesn't like Nick, so it doesn't matter what he does. He could have just took 2 deep breaths and she would have jumped down his throat. Let's be so for real. And she's like, so now you want to show emotion? Now you want to show emotion? And he's like, what the heck? And that's my reaction. What the heck? Nick, just say bye and keep it moving, please. I am so glad to never see Courtney. Well, I guess I will see her for the reunion. But until the reunion, I am so glad to not see her on my screen anymore. So glad, because she is an absolute nuisance. She's so obnoxious. And but hopefully if she is watching it back, or people in her life are watching it back and they care about her, hopefully they are convincing her that she needs to go get some help, go to therapy, talk to someone, work through some of her issues, because this is not a way to carry on. You will not end up in a healthy relationship acting the way that she acts. So we're back inside the group session, and now we're on to SHAWN and NIKKI. I still think that they're very performative, since that's a word that they love to use on this show. And NIKKI says that she feels like they've gone through ups and downs, but there's still a lot of progress being made, and that the trust is growing. And I'm just like, you guys have gone through a lot of ups and downs, mostly downs. And sure, we can say there's progress because you guys are not at each other's throat every day, but you're never going to fool me or convince me into thinking that the two of you are going to stay married after this. You're just not compatible in that type of way. There is no romantic connection between the two of you, and I don't care what you have to say about it. I know what I see. So family bonds is a topic that's coming up now. And SHAWN says that NIKKI still has an issue with being attracted to him, but he would really like to meet her mom because he just feels like there's a puzzle piece missing there. And NIKKI has expressed that she feels like they just need to be at a certain stable place together before she wants her mom to meet him. And then Dr. Paul questions her about it. SHAWN still has more input about it. And then eventually NIKKI's like, I feel like I'm at that place where you can meet my mom. I don't believe you, NIKKI. I think that you're feeling pressured, and I think you're giving in, and you're saying what it is that you feel like everybody just wants to hear from you right now to shut it all down because you know how you're coming across. Like I said before, I feel like you two were trying to self-edit and trying to self-correct and make it so that you come across a certain way. Maybe, maybe not. But I think you need to stick to your guns. If you don't want your mom to meet him, you do not have to have your mom meet him. That's a big step. And this show tries to make it so casual about introducing family to your partner. This might be the person that you're technically married to, but you were still strangers. This is still a new relationship. You do not necessarily have to bring in your family and friends if you don't want to, if you're not comfortable with it, just because everyone is expecting you to. So NIKKI says that the physical moments with the two of them have not felt necessarily romantic, and she just wants to feel the warm and fuzzies. And then Dr. Paul brings back up the integration of their shared communities. And I'm like, why why do you think that her bringing her family or her friends into the mix of this will make her feel the warm and fuzzies with SHAWN? I don't think that's the case. And then SHAWN can't help but be SHAWN, and he takes things a little bit too far again. And so then he's like, I just feel like we need to have like an expectation, like Friday we're gonna do this, Saturday we're gonna do this, like, I'm gonna meet your mom this day, and then the next day we'll take like a bath together. But it was all these things about physical intimacy, and I'm like, why did it go there? If we were talking about you meeting her mom, why did you start putting physical intimacy moments into that timeline? That was so weird and so gross, but to be expected of him. He doesn't know how to not think with what's going on down there. He only wants sex out of her. He could say otherwise, but his actions are proving that that's all he wants. There are so many conversations around this. All have been initiated by him. Like, I don't get it. He's disgusting to me. And I don't understand at this point why NIKKI is sticking around. Like, do you just want to be on TV? Are you just wanting airtime? So we move on then to Tori and Felipe, and Dr. Paul asks, like, what is the significant conflict that is impacting your marriage? And Tori says, well, it's Felipe's indecisiveness. I think that was an obvious answer, but I guess he had to like set it up by asking a question and not just assuming. And Felipe says he just needs to figure out if he wants to be married or not. And so Dr. Paul says that, when a mature man finds a great thing, he shuts everything else out for that great thing. And I understand what he's saying, but I also don't think that was very helpful for Felipe. I just don't. I think that Felipe has some other things that he needs to figure out. I understand they're like really focusing on the marriage part, but I think that there's like some underlying things. I don't think that he should be pressured into wanting to stay married, into thinking that he should stay married because there's all this pressure on him to stay married. And I think that he needs to do what it is that he wants to do. And honestly, I think he's going to say that he wants to stay married in order to please Tori. And I hope that Tori says that she does not want to stay married to him because she deserves better and she deserves someone who knows that they want to stay married to her. So Tori speaks up and she says that for her, it feels like emotional manipulation and it just doesn't feel genuine. So when Paul asked Felipe, like, in a year, what would scare you more? Being at home with your cat by yourself or having Tori be in another relationship that is a great relationship? And he says, well, I would hate to see Tori in a relationship if it's not with me. So they tell Felipe that he needs to decide today. And I'm like, well, Felipe is going to say that he wants to stay married to her because he's also not trying to get off of this show. So Felipe says that he's all in on her and that he's been choosing to be all in with her every day. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And I see where Tori feels like it's emotional manipulation because what are you talking about? This is so confusing. The back and forth, it feels like whiplash of hearing him be like, I want to be single, but I like you so much. And I'm so committed to you. I'm 100% committed to you, but I want to sleep with other people. But I'm 100% committed to you. I'm choosing you. I'm all in. But I don't know if I want to be married forever. I don't know if I can commit to you forever. But like, it's just too much. It's way too much. And I think that they should just go ahead and end it for Felipe. Make his decision for him. So then Dr. Paul and Felipe actually get into it a little bit because Dr. Paul says that he's not convinced. He's not convinced that Felipe has faith in his relationship. And Felipe is like, well, I don't need to convince you. You're not the one I need to convince. It's Tori. And Dr. Paul took great offense to that. And he felt like Felipe was being disrespectful. And I do think that he was being a bit disrespectful. But I also think that Felipe has an ego. And I think that that ego is hurt right now because he's being called out and truths are being spoken about him that he doesn't want to acknowledge. So when we pivot over to Mecca and Beljolie, it's brought up that, Mecca and Felipe, they have similar sentiments when it comes to marriage. And he's just never been in love before. Neither one of them have ever been in love before. And so Dr. Lisa points out that Mecca and Beljolie don't have any healthy familial relationships to look up to when it comes to love. And then when she said that, I was like, well, dang, that's kind of true. But I also think that that says a lot about their parents because it doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic love that you look up to in order to know how to model love. It could be platonic or parental love. And for her to say that, I'm like, your parents must not have been doing what they needed to do in order to even show you that level of healthy love, which I think we already know that from Mecca's dad based on everything that he revealed last episode about not being deserving of a smartphone, social media, and then obviously his reoccurring not being deserving of love. So they asked Beljolie if she chooses Mecca, and she said that yeah, she chooses Mecca, but she doesn't want to fall into the trap of her past relationship where she isn't the one doing the initiating. So she doesn't want to initiate anymore, and she doesn't want to scare him away, but she also doesn't want to push him away by doing the initiating and by doing maybe too much. And so Dr. Paul tells her, okay, well, the thing is, when you suppress your emotions, it builds into resentment, which is true. And so he's like, when we feel a thing, we need to say the thing. And I don't think that Belle is necessarily going to do that simply because she is scared of pushing him away. And he has not shown that he is a person who won't run. If he had shown that he's like not a runner, he's not fearful of stuff like that, I think she'd be more open to saying the thing when she feels the thing. But since he is a person who will run, I think that she's still going to be like, I don't want to push him away. So I'm just still not going to say it. So they ask Mecca if he chooses Belle, and he hesitates. And he was just like, yeah, I choose Belle. And it's like, that was not a confident, yeah, I choose her. Like, sir, do better than that. So Dr. Lisa essentially tells Mecca to lean into it and to be less passive. And she basically gives an example of Belle's birthday, where he could be super enthusiastic, being like, I got you this, I did all this because of X, Y, and Z. And I wanted to make your birthday so special because I care so much about you, instead of being so passive about all of it. Because right before this, Caitlyn had hyped up Belle's birthday because she was like, I was stalking your Instagram story, and Mecca really went all out, and he was just like, yeah. And that, I think, is what she meant when she was saying be less passive, be excited over it. And so I don't know if he will. I think that Mecca is just, I think he's scared. And again, I just think he needs therapy. I'm so tired of saying that, but I think he needs therapy. So we pan to a shot of Adam's feet up on the coffee table, and that's where Dr. Lisa is like, I feel like you just don't take anything seriously. And he's like, despite my body language, I do take things seriously. I'm just full sending it at this point. And Marissa's like, yeah, we're just crushing it out for the last 2 weeks of this. And I'm like, why do the two of you talk like this? Marissa, I don't believe that you talk like this. I think that you're talking like this because Adam talks like this, but you also keep trying to say that like you're not going to turn into 23-year-old Marissa, where you become his ideal woman. And yet I feel like you do things to kind of try to become his ideal woman. I hope that makes sense. And to back up my theory and my take, it is then said that Marissa has put forth a lot of effort to be what Adam wants, even to the point of making appointments with her friends at pickleball courts. And I'm like, bro, you do not have to do that. You two don't have to play pickleball together. It's okay. It is a-okay. Who was he playing pickleball with before you? How come he can't still play pickleball with those same people? Why does he now have to include you in that? If you don't want to do it, you can be going out with your friends, getting dinner, getting drinks while he plays pickleball, and then you guys can reunite at home. There's nothing wrong with that. Adam is then like, Marissa's gonna meet my sister, and Marissa's head whipped around so fast because that was news to her. And I'm like, why was that news to you? Have you not talked about this? Did Adam just spring this on you? And he was just like, yeah, you're gonna meet her. And it's like, okay. So then they bring up Adam meeting her friends the other night, and she was like, yeah, they liked him, but they had concerns. And Adam's like, what do you mean they had concerns? I thought it went well. And again, it's like, do y'all not talk? You guys don't talk at all. You just talk about how you're vibing and that it's crushing and we're just full sending. Like, obviously you're still not having any real conversations, which has been the theme since how many weeks have we been in this experiment at this point? I don't even know. But for however many weeks, it's been the theme of Adam and Marissa are not having real conversations. And this is clearly proof that Adam and Marissa are still not having real conversations. So when it comes up about the concerns that her friends had, she's like, they're just concerned about your level of intensity because it's going to give me anxiety eventually. I don't know if I can live with that. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so tired of this conversation. Like, how many times do we have to talk about Adam's intensity? We know he's very intense. We know that it gives you anxiety, and yet nothing is being done about it. In fact, you're practicing pickleball to take on his hobby. I'm sorry, but I think that's only going to increase his intensity. I don't even know. So Dr. Paul then brings up concerns around the communication, because he's like, just in this 3-minute conversation, there have been 3 instances where you guys have not communicated with each other. The first one, you didn't know that her friends had concerns. Marissa didn't know that she was going to meet your sister. Adam thinks that everything is all good, and Marissa doesn't when it comes to his intensity. And to me, that suggests that there is a problem with their relationship when there is a problem with communication. That's what Dr. Paul said. I don't think he's necessarily wrong, because how did y'all not know any of that? Like, I don't know. I do understand. We already know. We already know how they don't know these things because they don't talk. They laugh, they joke, they just giggle all the time and don't take anything seriously, and they don't have real conversations. We've been talking about this for literal weeks now. I'm tired of talking about it. So Michelle and Cameron. Michelle says that she feels like things have been going great, but she wants to make sure that they're not in a bubble. And then she brings up that Cameron has concern about the passion running out. And I'm like, here we go again. So I guess the last conversation about the passion running out must have been in the expert session with Tori and Felipe, and not in a group session, because Dr. Paul basically repeats what he told Felipe about being curious, and that it is a healthy concern that things will change, but just be endlessly curious and you will fall in love with your partner over and over and over again, because you will continue learning new things about them. And I believe it was Dr. Lisa that said, the passion will fade, but it will evolve and transform into something else. And to that I say, yeah, like, to expand on that, once you have kids, your whole passion, the things that you love about that person, that's going to add to it. That's going to change. As you guys experience more life together, that's also going to add to it. You're going to meet so many different versions of your partner throughout the 20, 30, 40 years that you're together. And that can be a beautiful thing, but you have to not get hung up in the, well, what about when things change? What if the passion runs out? What if, what do we do? And you just keep moving forward. Michelle and Cameron do reveal that they are falling in love with each other. They have not told each other that they love each other, but they have both said that they are falling in love with each other. And he says that things in life are so much better now. And he even drives up 3 hours in the evening sometimes just to stay the night with her. And Dr. Paul, I believe it was, he said that that's love in action. And that really is, because to have to turn back around and go back to work in the morning 3 hours away, whew, that is love. Because there are so many people who would be like, yeah, I'll see you when I get back in town, but I'm 3 hours away. There's nothing I can do about that. Last up, finally, we get to Devin and Caitlin. And Caitlin says that things are so much better now because her and Devin have actually had a talk. And she shared with him things that she's never really shared with anybody before. She can count maybe 3 other people who know these things about her. And that it has added so much context and that he understands her better. And even before she said all that, I felt like they looked a lot more comfortable. She looked really relaxed. And even through their communication throughout their segment of this session, the way they are communicating seems a lot more in tandem than it has in the past. They seem like a united front versus kind of butting heads. And I don't know, it feels a lot more natural. Devin really does seem like he understands her a lot more. Dr. Paul feels like their emotional connection is growing and it is making their physical connection even stronger in order for them to move forward. And Caitlin says that she feels like she can lean into her feminine, she can soften a bit. And Devin is asked about his dimmer light, and he says that the only thing that he feels like he really needs to add back is being able to say what he wants to without being scared. So I think that's a good path. I mean, he said that he's being, kind of jokey again, and Caitlin was like, I like the witty jokes. I told him I like the witty ones, make me laugh. And Caitlin says that she does in fact see a future with Devin. So we have come a long way with those two. But again, I feel like with them, it's always a very much up and down thing. So I'm not hopeful about how they're going to end up, but we'll see. Decision day's 2 weeks away, less than 2 weeks away, I think. So there's not much time for them to figure this out. So when everybody's in the car going back to their apartments, Mecca and Belle are talking, and I just had to make note of this conversation because I was like, yes, this is one conversation I do care about. And they are talking about SHAWN and NIKKI. And Mecca points out that he did not like how SHAWN approached that conversation and that he was basically giving NIKKI a list of demands when it comes to their intimacy. And Belle was like, I don't think it was a list of demands. I think it was examples of the intimacy that he wants. And Mecca was like, no, those were demands. And he's exactly right. They were demands. So I'm really glad that, everybody gets to see it in person, the way that SHAWN functions in that relationship, the way that he continues to talk to her, the way he continues to pressure her, even though nobody said anything about it, which irks me because why did nobody say anything? Even Dr. Paul and Dr. Lisa, why did you not say anything about the way that he took meeting her mom and turned it into, we should take a bath together? Those two things are not related. And if they are, I don't want to know how. So real quick, we get a little clip of NIKKI saying that, attractiveness aside, she's really trying to lean into this experience. And I'm like, please stop. And it's a clip of them in the kitchen and he's they're kissing and he's grabbing her butt. I hate every single physical intimacy scene with the two of them because I really kind of hate every scene with SHAWN. Back at Tori and Felipe's apartment, Tori said that she feels like Felipe sounded the same tonight as he did previous nights. And I was like, yes, because Felipe is a lot of talk and not a lot of action, which we know at this point. So Felipe says that they were painting him in a bad light tonight. What do you mean? But then I also made note and noticed that his eyes were bloodshot red. And I'm like, were you crying? Are you tired? Or are you drunk? Because something was going on and I'm not exactly sure what. He says that he got scared when he realized how much he likes her. And I'm like, oh my God, spare me, please. So she says that he has a week to fix this. And she's like, what is that going to look like? And he mentions taking it offline and bringing up a list of actionable items. And he was really just mocking SHAWN in the way that SHAWN talks. And so I did think that was funny. And I gave him a pass for that, even though he does just like to talk and run his mouth. And he did not give a real answer to what that's going to look like. So who knows what that's going to look like. I don't really have hope that Felipe knows how to fix this and that he knows how to get to a place where he does want to be committed to her and that he can be fully committed to her. And I also don't know if Tori can get to a place where she can believe him, because I think that's another part of the equation that nobody's bringing up is, Tori, will you actually believe him if he says that he has reached that place? And I'm going to wager and say no. In her confessional, she says that, at one point Felipe was a great present husband and she felt very safe, and now she's unsure about about being committed to him. And I'm like, for a good reason. For a good reason. That is your gut talking to you, and you need to listen to it. But again, all these couples are just staying on the show, and nobody wants to end their relationship. And I'm like, just end it, please. Take us all out of our misery. Take yourself out of your misery, because you already know the truth of the truth of the matter at this point. NIKKI and SHAWN are in the kitchen, I think making breakfast or something, and NIKKI said that she wants to reach a place of stability, comfort, and ease before integrating her family into the mix, but that she's ready now. And I'm just like, I don't think you are. I really don't. I think that you feel so much pressure to be ready that you were like, you know what, fine, we can get my mom on the phone so you can talk to her, because I'm ready to shut this conversation up. And then SHAWN is like, well, don't be mad if your mom loves me, and I'm really curious how your mom is going to react to my experience so far. What? That's such a weird take on meeting someone's mom. So it's not that you want to meet her to like foster that relationship and make your relationship deeper with NIKKI. It's that you want to meet her so that you can tell your side of the story of what's been going on, and hopefully it'll paint a clear picture for her mom, and she'll like you and maybe even take your side. You're such a weirdo, dude. I don't like you. We have hidden camera footage of Michelle and Cameron, where Cameron's laying on the couch and he's saying that he's just having a really off day, and it's just not a good day, and he's just not happy. And Michelle lets him know that not every day is going to be a happy day. It's okay. So then she gets him out of the house. They go for a walk with their dogs. And in his confessional, he says that he's really insecure about if he's a sad person, and that he just doesn't know why Michelle likes him and wants to be with him forever. And he worries that his anxious side will push her away or scare her away. And I'm like, no, it's completely normal. And that is what Michelle reminds him and tells him, is that like, not every day is going to be happy. Life would be so boring if every day was a good day. It'd be so boring if every day was a happy day. Like, the challenges in life make you grow closer, and they make you appreciate things more. Adam and Marissa are in what seems to be a boat hot tub. It is a boat that is filled with water that looks like a hot tub. I don't know. I've never seen anything like that before. That must be a Seattle thing. That's really interesting. But he shotgunned a canned water, and he was like, oh, it really takes me back. Okay, interesting. And then he goes on to make a point to say that he chose this date because he wants to show her that not everything has to be intense. As he then decides that he's gonna like go widthwise across the boat, across the water that's in the hot tub, and do push-ups. And then he's like, can you do push-ups? So then now they're both doing push-ups over this hot tub. And I'm like, so this is your way of showing her that not everything has to be intense? That's really interesting, Adam. I don't think you know how to turn it off. I don't think you know how to not be intense. You just are an intense person. And it's okay if you find someone who is fine with your intensity, but that's just not Marissa. So they start recapping the group session and talking about her friends' concerns. And Marissa says that they're just concerned that she and Adam are focusing on the one thing that she's not versus everything that she is. And I think that that's a fair point, because they are focusing a lot on the fact that Marissa is not this super active person like Adam is, instead of the things that Marissa is. Therefore, we hardly even know anything about her. Which Adam then doesn't make this conversation any better, because he then goes into this whole thing about how he's on an upward trajectory. And Marissa's like, so do you think that's going to make you more intense? And he's like, oh yeah, definitely. Okay, can we go ahead and call this marriage here? Can we go ahead and end it? Can Dr. Paul pop up out of the hot tub and be like, do you want to end your marriage tonight? Yes, please. Like, why are we still going through this? If you know you don't want to be with somebody so intense, and he's telling you, I'm only going to get more intense. Obviously, this is just not going to work. We can go ahead and call it here. I know how that's going to end. You know how that's going to end. We all know how that's going to end. But then Adam, he says that they're en route to falling in love. And then they start talking about having kids. And I'm like, I'm so confused. I am confusion. At this point, we're just saying words just to be saying words, because none of your actions or the way this relationship has gone, the way you two align, actually leads down the path that you guys are talking about right now. So I think we're just talking just to be talking. We're just hee ha ha. The episode ends with Marissa saying that she loves that he jokes, but she also wants him to be serious. And I'm like, and Marissa, I want you to be serious, and I want you to go ahead and end this relationship, please, and thank you. So that is the end of episode 14. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't clicked subscribe, make sure you go ahead and click that button so you don't miss any other uploads around Married at First Sight. And I will see you guys in the next one for episode 15. Bye!